Jai Hind children, I welcome all of my students in today's live class. Children, remember that in last class I have started our second chapter of chemistry, that is structure of matter, and we have discussed some of the topics of the matter, like that what is matter made up of, atoms, molecules, compounds, and the elements. So these are the topics we have explained in our previous class. Now today we will discuss some more topics of the chapter. So now for discussing the topics, I'm going to share my screen to the slides. Now the topic is occurrence of elements and compounds. Many elements have a great tendency to combine with each other to form compound. Now, children, here you have to know that as I have told, there are about 118 elements total. So, out of that, most of the elements they have the great tendency, they have the capacity to combine with each other, form the compounds, whereas some are the elements are not having this tendency, this capacity. So they are found in free state, whereas some of them are found in combined state. Very few elements occur in the free state in nature, and some of these are oxygen, nitrogen, and gold. So these are some of the examples of the elements which are found in the nature, and they are found in free state because they are not having the tendency to combine with each other. That is why they are found in free state, whereas most of the elements are found in combined state. Most of the pure elements are obtained by breaking up a compound into its constituent elements. For example, oxygen and hydrogen. They can be obtained by electrolysis of water. So here, simply students understood that as the water is a compound and it is made up of two different elements, that is oxygen and hydrogen. And if we want to obtain the oxygen and hydrogen from water, so it can be obtained by a chemical process. And the name of that chemical process is electrolysis. So, by the electrolysis of water, oxygen and hydrogen again gets separated and can be obtained separately. Now, to explain this, I'm going to share the screen to the board. This is our today's topic, occurrence of elements and compounds. So as I already told you that the elements and compounds which occur in nature in two forms. Some of them are occurred in free form and some of them are occurred in combined form, because some of the elements are having the great tendency to combine chemically with others. That is why they are found in combined form. And some of them not having this tendency, and that is why they are found in free form in the nature. And the examples of the elements which are found in free state. The elements which are found in free state are nitrogen, oxygen, gold, and the elements which are found in combined state. Elements which are found in combined state are iron, aluminium, copper. The occurrence of elements in compounds in the nature are found in two states, free state and the second one combined state. In free state, these elements are not having the great tendency to combine with others. And in second group, these elements are having the tendency to combine with other elements. Now, come back to the properties of compounds. The compound which we have discussed that which are made up of the two or more than two elements when they combine chemically in a fixed ratio. So they are known as compounds, and these compounds have following three important properties. The first one, a compound can be broken down into its constituent elements by chemical methods. For example, each water molecule is made up of two atoms of hydrogen and one atom of oxygen. The water can be broken down into the elements hydrogen and oxygen by passing electricity through water. The second property of compound is a compound always contains the same elements combined together chemically in a fixed ratio. No matter from where you take water, it will always contain hydrogen and oxygen in the ratio of 2:1 by volume. Sugar is a compound of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Its molecule contains 12 atoms of carbon, 22 atoms of hydrogen, and 11 atoms of oxygen. And this proportion of 12 is to 22 is to 11 will remain constant no matter how and where sugar is produced. And the third property is the properties of a compound are different from those of its constituent elements. For example, the properties of water, which is a liquid, are different from its constituent elements, that is hydrogen, which is a gas, and oxygen, which is also a gas. Water puts off fire, whereas hydrogen burns and oxygen supports burning. So these are the three properties of compounds, and we will discuss them one by one in detail. So come back to the board. Properties of compounds. The first property. Compound can always This is the first property of compound. A compound can be broken down into its constituent elements by chemical method. So simply it's going to explain that when a compound forms, take the example water or carbon dioxide. These both are the compounds. So when they are going to broken down into its constituent elements, like the water have the constituent element hydrogen and oxygen, and the carbon dioxide have the constituent element that is carbon and oxygen. So these both constituents elements are going to break down chemically. Means it the breakdown can only be take place in a chemical method, not by any physical method. Suppose from water, if we want to obtain separately the hydrogen and oxygen, so physically it's not possible to obtain these two elements separately. It need a chemical method like the electrolysis of water. Electrolysis of water. In this process, in the water, electricity is passed, and after passing the electricity, that water breaks down into its constituent elements, that is hydrogen and water. And this process is known as electrolysis, and it is an chemical method. So simply it's given here the first property of compound. A compound can be broken down only by a chemical method into its constituent, means the elements by which it is made up of, as the water is made up of hydrogen and oxygen, so they both will come as its constituent, and it can be broken down by chemical method, that is. Now the second property of compound. The second property of compound is a compound always contains the same elements combined together chemically in fixed ratio. So children, this property is going to indicate simply that a compound always contains the same elements by which it is made up of. And these elements will be in fixed ratio. Either that compound is found anywhere, like the water. It may found in sea, ocean, river, rain, underground water, everywhere. That water will be having the same element, that is hydrogen and oxygen. And these two elements combine together chemically in all kind of water and in a fixed ratio. Means as we know that in water the hydrogen and oxygen is in the ratio of 2 is to 1. So this ratio will be fixed everywhere and in every kind of water. So that is why it's given here a compound always contains the same elements. Their elements will be same, that hydrogen and oxygen everywhere. For carbon dioxide, their elements will be the same, that is carbon and oxygen, and they will be always in a fixed ratio, that is 1 is to 2. Either this carbon dioxide get released by the animals during the process of respiration, or this carbon dioxide is going to utilized by the plants. Everywhere, every time, the carbon dioxide will have the same element and in fixed ratio. It will not get. Now, the third property of compounds. So, the third property of compound is the properties of a compound are different from those of its constituent elements. As you know that the constituent elements means the elements by which compound is made up of. So that elements definitely have their own characteristics or properties. And when those constituent elements combine together to form a compound, that compound will also have their own property, their own characteristic features. But these features will be of different kind. Like that compound will have the different properties from the elements by which it is made up of. For example, again I'm going to take the same example, water, which is a compound. So this water have their own property, like it is found in liquid state, it not have a specific taste, it does not have the color and all. But the elements by which it is made up of are of having the different property, like it is made up of two different elements, hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen is found in gaseous state, oxygen also found in gaseous state. Hydrogen is a combustible gas whereas oxygen supports in burning. Whereas the water, which are formed by combining these two different elements, are helped to put off the fire. So here the characteristic features gets changed completely. The compound which are made by these two different elements are having different feature, and these elements are also have the different feature from this compound. So this is the third property of the compound image. Now in the book you have some more examples about the properties of compound. So just see those examples. Sugar. It is made up of three different elements, that is carbon, hydrogen and oxygen. And these three are found present in sugar molecule in a definite ratio. That carbon is 12, hydrogen is 22 and oxygen is 11. So this is the ratio of these three different elements which are present in sugar molecule. So sugar is a compound. It is made up of three different elements, and these elements are present in this ratio in the molecule of sugar. So children must remember that the ratio of the different elements which are present in the molecule of sugar. I hope that you understood these properties of compound. Come back to the slide. Mixtures. Our next topic is mixture. When two or more elements or compounds are mixed together and there is no chemical change between them, we get a mixture of the elements or compounds. In a mixture, no new molecules are formed. When two or more elements or compounds are brought together, they do not always react chemically. Firstly, not all elements or compounds can react with each other. Secondly, even if they can react with each other, they will not do so until the conditions are favorable. Now, children, to explain the mixture properly, come back to the board. Mixtures. Our next topic of the chapter is mixtures. Children, the mixture simply indicate that when two or more than two kind of substances get combined together, it form a mixture. So as we have discussed about the compound, because in compound there is also two or more than two different elements combined together. So you can say that the compounds are also a kind of mixture, but there is a difference. We cannot use the term mixture for compound. The reason is that, remember the properties of compound. In a compound, the different constituent elements are present in a fixed ratio, and they cannot be broken down, they cannot be separated by any physical method. They can be separated only by a chemical method. Whereas in a mixture, The different constituents which are present there, they are not present in a fixed ratio and they can be separated easily by the physical method. So that is why it will termed as mixture. It will not termed as compound. So this is the basic difference between compound and the mixture. As if we are going to take some of the different small pieces are powdered form of elements, say that metal, iron, sulfur, and the small powdered form of the other substance, say that sawdust and all, and keep them in a bowl and with the help of a spoon mix them. So that time it will termed as mixture. It will not termed as the compound because they can separate it easily by the physical method. But if we take the iron powder and the sulfur powder and if we heat them together more, so they combine together and form a compound because here the sulfur and the iron, they are going to mix in a fixed ratio, and after the chemical process, that is the heating, they are going to make a compound, and the compound is iron sulfide. That is why there is a difference in mixture and compound given here. Now children, as you have seen that in case of a mixture there are certain conditions, as the mixtures, when the two or more elements or compounds are mixed together, and there is no chemical change between them, we get a mixture. So this sentence is going to explain you that how we'll get the mixture. When two or more than two elements are compounds, we can use the elements or we can take the compounds, anything. When they are mixed together and there is no chemical change, while mixing there is no chemical change. Physical change will be there, but no chemical change will be there between them. Then we will get a mixture only. And if it will be the same and a chemical change is going to occur, so that time it will termed as the compound. So to prepare a mixture, any element, any compound can be mixed together in any ratio and no chemical change is going to occur, so it will termed as a mixture. In a mixture, no new molecules are formed. As I already told you that when a mixture is prepared, so the molecules will remain the same. It will not be the new. As I told, if we are going to mix in a bowl the iron particles and the sulfur powder, so in this time a new molecule is not going to form. They will remain the different, means the iron and this sulfur. Their molecules will remain separated. They are not going to mix there, and the resulting no new molecule are going to form. So this time it will come as a mixture. When two or more elements or compounds are brought together, they do not always react chemically. Now, one more thing related to the mixture is when two or more elements or compounds are brought together, they do not always react chemically. Just keeping the two or more than two kind of elements or compound together in any container, a bowl, test tube, beaker, anywhere, it's not necessary that always they will react chemically. Sometimes they can react chemically. It will depend on the chemical nature of those substances, the chemical nature of that element, or the chemical nature of that compound. But in most of the cases, they will not react chemically. And as they are not going to react chemically, so that time it will consider only a mixture. And if while keep together, if they are going to start reacting chemically, they will form a compound. Firstly, not all elements or compounds can react with each other. Secondly, even if they can react, they can react with each other, they will not do so until conditions are favorable. So here it's also given while keeping together, it is not necessary they react chemically. And one more thing is there. Firstly, not all elements or compound can react with each other. And secondly, even if they can react with each other, they will not do so until conditions are favorable. They can react with each other, but for that reaction, certain conditions are required. If those favorable conditions are present there, the elements or compound will react together and form a new compound. Otherwise, they will remain as a mixture. Like some reaction can take place only by heating. Without heating, they cannot react together. In some cases, to form a compound, it's necessary that to mix the substance in water and change them in liquid form. Otherwise, they will not react chemically. So these are certain conditions which are required to form the compound. Otherwise, they will remain the mixtures. So this is all about the today's topic. Students, I hope that you understood the topics which we have explained today. Thank you and have a nice day.